From the beginning of the series, one of the goals with the New York Knicks was not only to win a ring from Melo, but to move into the next generation of young Knicks. And this offseason is going to be a reflection of both of those goals, as we've already won that one title. And Carmelo Anthony was our NBA Finals MVP, as you'll see in this slide right here. In almost 33 minutes per game, he had 23.5 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 5.7 assists, pretty much in line with his per 36s from the regular season, if you recall. So here is going to be a sped-up version of all of the retirements. Highlighting list is Kobe Bryant, Paul Pierce, who are both Hall of Famers, Manu Ginobili, one of the better sixth men of our time, and then a few other depth guys that were kind of important in their careers in the NBA. James Jones won a three-point shootout one year. Tony Allen was one of the best defenders I've ever seen play. Marvin Williams had a pretty solid career. A lot of these guys were really solid. There wasn't really a lot of Hall of Famers or anything. Pretty much just Kobe and Paul Pierce, who were actually inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. So that's pretty much that. And as I said before, Paul Pierce, Kobe are the only two Hall of Famers out of this retirement class. And so now this is going to be a sped-up version of the NBA Draft Lottery, and it's going to be important because we're targeting to trade up in the draft with future picks, because this is the last draft class that I have real players in, and I found a guy that I really wanted to acquire, and it's going to be around the 8th pick, so we're targeting, or the 9th or 10th pick, so we're targeting the Wizards or the Kings right now. But we're going to see how the draft goes, and that will be in the next slide after we show you what we did about our staffing situation, because Derek Fisher's contract had expired and we needed a new assistant coach. And for the first time this century, the Magic have the first pick in the draft. And as you can see here, Kobe Bryant was lured to New York by Phil Jackson, and Derek Fisher was re-signed on a new contract. We also got a new trainer. Our trainer was really bad before, but he is supposed to be really good now. And maybe one day Kobe will lead the Knicks to a championship if Derek Fisher ever says goodbye to New York. But Phil Jackson using his powers to get his former players to come help him out. So now we are moving into the NBA draft. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this draft class, so this is going to be a lot of winging when I'm talking about these prospects. So here we go. It is going to be the Magic with the first pick. Nuggets, Pistons, Mavs, and Bucks are your top 5. The Raptors and Lakers also up there in that top 7 or 8. And the Nets, I believe that's actually the, or the Celtics, I believe that's actually the Celtics pick. Not the Nets pick, because the Nets made the playoffs. So number 1 pick was Dennis Smith, point guard. They kind of need one of those, so I can understand that. Josh Jackson goes to the Denver Nuggets, very athletic player. And we're going to try and go through this as fast as possible, but I'm not going to speed it up because then it gets really weird. So Jason Tatum, a shooting guard, goes 3rd overall. Maybe Van Gundy thinks he can shoot or something. I don't even know anything about him, honestly. I know a lot about some of these other guys, but not him particularly. One of the guys I do know a lot about is De'Aaron Fox. He's supposed to be one of the best point guards in this upcoming class. Harry Giles, Darren Davis, VJ King, and the 8th pick would be Franklin Nash. So here is the trade we are going to make. And I didn't really want to include KJ in this trade, but we had to include KJ in this trade. I wanted to keep him as a rotation player after his big performance in the playoffs to see how he would progress, but he was necessary to get this trade to go through without having to give up 4 first-round picks. Giving up 3 was already a little high of a price, but we know this guy's going to be good. We're going to trade 3 first-round picks, 2 seconds, and KJ to the Sacramento Kings for the 9th pick, and Josh Eustace, who will be a bench player. And this is the guy we were targeting, Gabe Green. I want him to pretty much turn into the next Melo, except he's already a better shooter. He has A, 3-point scoring, and B, mid-range scoring, but he's kind of the Melo where he can do pretty much a little bit of everything. And outside of his shooting, he doesn't really have any polished skills, but the all-around decent skill set can definitely be developed, especially as he progresses in his NBA career. And by the time Melo retires, this guy will be ready to be an NBA All-Star. And so now we are going to move into the meat of the offseason free agency. We re-signed Kelly Olynyk and Raymond Felton on day 1. Olynyk originally wanted 2 years on his contract, but we talked him into a 4-year deal that pays him pretty much the same amount. He's going to be a nice stretch 4 off the bench. And Raymond Felton signed for 2 years. I don't know if he's going to stay very good, but he had a really good fill-in performance when Patrick Beverley was injured and Jaren Grant had to step into the starting lineup. So I figured he was worth retaining on a deal like that. And with more cap space this year than last year, the Knicks were able to re-sign Bismack Biyombo to a 5-year, $23 million deal. If you remember last season, we had to re-sign him for just 1 year, and this time we can retain him for 5 years. He's only 24, and he's Hassan Whiteside insurance in case Whiteside declines or leaves the team. And he's a really good backup center anyway. Despite being 6'9", he's an amazing rebounder and a very solid defender. We also re-signed Kendrick Perkins. After looking at some of the other depth options at center, we really did not see anything else we liked, and we figured Perkins was a solid grab for another year until maybe a different backup center, or third center, I suppose, would come onto the market, as he's really just depth for the bench in case of an injury. And I should mention it, though I forgot to actually show it, we re-signed Sasha Vujacic to another one-year deal, and we signed Chris Humphries as a third power forward for our roster. Here's a quick look at player progression. Whiteside jumped up a little bit. Porzingis went up. Biyombo and Olynyk, I think, both gained a point. Jaren Grant didn't really progress, but that's not a big deal. So we're going to send a couple people to different camps right here. We are going to send Jaren Grant to an outside shooting camp, and I knew I wanted to send Gabe Green to a camp, but I didn't quite know what it was, and I decided to give him better passing and ball handling, make him a little bit more of a playmaker. We'll work on that first. And then finally, we were setting our rotation, and usually I like to run a 10-man rotation, and that's how I've kind of always operated with NBA, but this year I decided to try this season, I decided to try a 9-man with Nick Young as my kind of depth guy. If someone gets really tired and we don't have enough guys to fill in, we will use Nick Young. But I think a 9-man rotation kind of fits more of what this team needs, as we have a lot of we're really kind of heavy in the wing, and we have a couple good big guys and a point guard, and that's really kind of the 9-man is meant for us. That's also the way that the NBA is going in real life. You won't see a lot of full 5-man bench units. You're always going to see someone who's usually a starter out on the floor. So I wanted to make it a little bit more realistic from that sense too. So that's going to do it for this offseason. Tomorrow is going to be a new series on the channel, and then after that video we are going to get into year 3 with a bang, as the first game is on the road against the Brooklyn Nets. So thank you guys for watching this offseason. I hope you enjoy it, and stay tuned for more New York Knicks basketball.